Bonsoir tout le monde. Hello everyone. Welcome to CanAsian Arts on the Move. Bienvenue à Art Asie en mouvement. Hello Stephanie.
Hi Zila. Welcome everyone and good evening. Welcome to CanAsian Arts on the Move. My name is Stephanie Jiang and I'm from Pacific Canada Heritage Center, Museum of Migration Society, located in Vancouver's Chinatown. And I'm privileged to be your Anglophone co-host for the evening. I'm joining you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, where as a settler, I have a responsibility to the land and my hosts. Thank you for joining us. We are thrilled to have you with us tonight. Led by the CanAsian Arts Network and simulcast in cities across Canada, CanAsian Arts on the Move is a national multidisciplinary showcase for Asian artists. This year, the following Asian heritage organizations are participating in the event. We have Pacific Canada Heritage Center in Vancouver, Festival Accès in Montreal, Asian Heritage Month Society of Manitoba in Winnipeg, InterGenerational Becoming Ancestors in Toronto, Philippine Arts Council in Edmonton, and last but not least, Alberta Media Arts Alliance Society in Calgary.
Bonsoir tout le monde, mon nom est Neila, je suis la directrice artistique du festival Accès Asie, basé à Montréal, Tiohtià:ke, Mooniyang. Je suis ravie de co-animer cette 4e édition de Art Asie en mouvement avec Stéphanie. Quant à moi, je vous parle depuis l'île connue sous le nom de Montréal, qui est en fait Tiohtià:ke, ce qui signifie où les courants se rencontrent dans la langue des Kanien'kehá:ka. Montréal est en fait Mooniyang dans la langue des Anishinabeg, ce qui signifie endroit concave. Le territoire d'où je vous parle est un territoire autochtone où habitent les Kanien'kehá:ka, les Anishinabeg, les Abénakis, les Wendat et d'autres Premières Nations. Nous reconnaissons les Kanien'kehá:ka comme les protectrices des terres et des eaux. Quant à Art Asie en mouvement, c'est une vitrine nationale multidisciplinaire qui met de l'avant des artistes canado-asiatiques. Cette initiative est chapeautée par le réseau artistique canadien.
Tonight, we are thrilled to be presenting pre-recorded video performances from 6 Asian Canadian artists from across the country. After each video, we will hear directly from each of the artists themselves. If you wish to ask any questions directly to our artists, we encourage you to use the chat. To begin this wonderful evening, let's welcome our first artist from Vancouver, Kirsten Fung. Kirsten is presented by the Pacific Canada Heritage Center Museum of Migration Society, a hub for intercultural learning of our peoples and stories. Kirsten Fung is a singer, keyboardist, composer, and performer. Her music is at the crossroads of soulful grace and jazzy joy, as well as funky R&B and more.
She would never get get to Broadway if she went there. Trying to shield her underneath the veil of love. But sometimes you gotta learn, even when it's tough. Keep your stride, keep that fire alive. Keep your stride, wipe that mud from your eyes. Keep your stride, forget your pride. Keep your stride, keep your stride, massive. The way she says the letter S may seem a bit strange to you, or the features of her face don't match what you're used to. Maybe you've been blinded by what you see on TV, on the quest for pleasure instead of beauty. People try to fit you in their cookie cutter squares, then they get confused when you refuse to live in there. If you come to know the person you've been called to be, show him with your love, it'll set you free. Keep your stride, keep that fire alive. Keep your stride, wipe that mud from your eyes. Keep your stride, forget your pride. Keep your stride, keep your stride, massive. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Keep your stride nice and wide. Keep that fire alive. Wipe that mud from your eyes. Keep your stride, forget your pride. Keep your stride, forget your pride. Keep your stride now. Keep your stride, massive. Keep your stride nice and wide. Keep that fire alive. Wipe that mud from your eyes. Keep your stride, forget your pride. Keep your stride, forget your pride. Keep your stride now. Keep your stride, massive. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was Kirsten. She is also the creator of the outdoor live music and chocolate series Funk and Mink, which is one of the 5 selected recipients of downtown Vancouver's Public Space Vibrancy Program. Other performances include the Vancouver International Jazz Festival, Roulette in New York, On King in Honolulu, and Viva la Musica in Kyoto.
Vancouveroise Christine Fung prépare la sortie de son single électro R&B Why Don't You Dance. Elle sortira également d'autres singles comme par exemple avec la finaliste de Sing China, Zizi, The No Sweet Carolines. C'était vraiment formidable. Restez avec nous maintenant pour un échange en direct avec Kirsten. Stephanie, I believe you had some questions for Kirsten?
Yeah, for sure. So, Kristen, also you can find Kristen's social medias and her website in the comments. First question. So this song, Massive Stride, it seems like to have some personal roots, references to a little girl growing up and generally the growth in mindset. Could you elaborate a bit more on the meaning behind the song and whether this has been inspired by your own life?
Definitely. I'd be so happy to. Thank you for having me here and giving me this opportunity to share about my work. So yeah, Massive Stride is one of the first songs I wrote for my first EP, and it absolutely like tells the story of how I, as a little girl, got into music. When I was a little girl, there was nothing more that I wanted than to be Little Orphan Annie on Broadway. Like Little Orphan Annie with like the curly red hair. And yeah, I remember my mom telling me like, nope, that's not possible. You have an Asian face. You can't be Annie. And I was just like crestfallen because that was my dream. And I know that like she was trying to protect me. But I think from a very young age, like um, I was kind of like ashamed of being like a Chinese girl who wanted to be a performing artist. And so by the time I wrote Massive Stride, you'll hear me singing the song like Forget Your Pride and Wipe the Mud from Your Eyes. And, by pride, like I'm not trying to say like don't be proud of who you are, because I absolutely am proud of who I am as a Chinese woman performing artist today. But that's more of like a chant for me to keep in mind that if you have a dream, if you have something that you want to pursue in your art, it needs to be something that you pursue for the sake of seeking like the goodness and the beauty and the truth that drew you to it in the first place. And it's not about seeking other people's approval or permission for you to make your art, because you are always going to have your dreams and your art, and they're always going to be available to you because they're just a part of who you are. So yeah, Massive Stride is about taking the steps and claiming your space and being like, yeah, I'm here and I'm doing my thing. No matter what I look like and who I am, there's space for me here to be me.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kirsten. What a beautiful story. Following up on that, you mentioned ever since you were a little girl, right? Started off with wanting to be Orphan Annie. How old exactly would you say? And was there like a specific, did that Orphan Annie movie was that the inspo behind you wanting to be a performing artist?
Totally. It was totally seeing the movie and just like loving all of the songs that all the little girls were singing, and just trying to see myself as a little girl in that kind of role. Yeah, I've always been really drawn to like just performing for people, even though I was like quite shy in like the rest of my life. I remember like when I first started school, I didn't talk for a year.
Wow.
But I loved performing, so there was something there brewing inside of me for sure.
Right. Yeah, it seems like music was kind of like you breaking out of your shell.
Definitely.
Awesome, thank you. Ayla, back to you.
Yes. So, Kristen, you've lived in several cities in so-called Canada. How did living in those different cities influence your musical style, and which direction are you taking now with your current projects?
Yeah, so I've been so privileged to live like in two places that are really significant to me. Vancouver, which is where I was born and raised and where I fell in love with Little Orphan Annie, and Toronto, where I moved later on to just spread my wings and explore like all the musical possibilities and like creative possibilities I could have in my career. And I think the way Toronto really influenced me was that it gave me this inspiration and this kind of like invitational mindset that you can always make room for another person to join you. And that's the kind of like creative hospitality that I experienced and received when I moved to Toronto. And yeah, I just remember like being involved in so many different kinds of musical projects across like different genres, from like R&B to jazz to like experimental improv, and like performing in all these different places, like from like Harlem Restaurant to like the Aga Khan Museum to like busking in the subways. And that's what really gave me this attitude or inspiration that anywhere can be a music venue. So when I moved back to Vancouver, which was during the pandemic, which was pretty rough because no one wanted to make new friends in the pandemic. So it was kind of hard, like coming back in that year. But I remember going to the Lunar New Year celebrations at the Dr. Sun Yat-sen Classical Chinese Garden, which is where the video performance that we just watched was filmed. And I remember being there and thinking, like, wouldn't it be great to like represent Chinese Canadian, like original R&B music, like in this venue? And it just manifested into them actually inviting me to perform that concert, which is the video that we just watched. That was in the summer of 2021. So it was still like sort of weird COVID-y times. But it was such a privilege to like actually play the Chinese Garden, a place that like I always knew about since I was like a little girl, but I never thought of it as a music venue until I went to Toronto and had all these different experiences and came back here and thought, hey, that would be really cool. I'd love to do that.
Wow, that's awesome. I think it's a very like full circle moment, like the song that you're singing and the location. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. It's
Thank
amazing
you.
to have you with us and to hear your music.
Thank you.
So now we move on to Dédé Chen. On poursuit cette soirée en accueillant notre artiste de Montréal, Zodiac, Dédé Chen. Dédé est présenté par le festival Accès, Asie, qui a lieu en ce moment pendant le mois du patrimoine asiatique et qui présente le travail des artistes des diasporas asiatiques. Dédé est une autrice et réalisatrice qui s'intéresse à la performance de la filiation. Diplômée en anthropologie de l'Université Laval, Dédé effectue ensuite sa maîtrise en relations internationales à l'Université de Pékin. C'est à son retour qu'elle développe une pratique d'écriture entre poétique et politique autour de la violence sexuelle, du corps territoire et de l'archive. Elle a aussi une pratique de réalisation en cinéma.
Dédé Chen is an author and filmmaker based in Montreal. Her first short film, Papaya, premiered at the Toronto Real Asian Film Festival and was awarded a prize from the festival Accès, as well as an honorable mention at the Festival Féministe and at the Vancouver Festival of Recorded Movement. Having grown up between Saguenay and Quebec City, Dédé Chen felt a need to reconnect with her roots in the city and amplify the voices of adoptees. In 2021, the artist co-founded Soft Gong, the first francophone organization by and for adoptees from China. She is presented by Festival Accès, a month-long interdisciplinary festival based in Montreal, presenting the works of artists from Asian diasporas.
Ce soir, Dédé va nous proposer Bain de Poésie, un poème en prose sous-titré en anglais.
Le Tao. Le Tao. Il y a ce proverbe chinois, Tong Bing Xiang Lian. Celles qui partagent la misère se retrouvent. Je dédie ce poème à celles qui souffrent, qui cultivent l'empuissancement, qui se réconcilient avec leur chi. À mes adelphes d'Haïti chérie, de Mastoyache à Marrakech. Je cherche la terre de mes ancêtres. Je marche, je rencontre un soleil noir, une lune rouge, ascendante en what the fuck. Heure de naissance non identifiée. Orpheline depuis le Big Bang Bang. Cet horizon n'est pas le mien. Oriente mon désir. La douleur est ce corps jaune sans nom. La douceur est la renaissance d'une longue pensée. 这是我的身体. Je voudrais retourner au lac, chanter sur la rue principale, revoir la mer intérieure, le manoir du hot dog, l'église Saint-Dominique, le club vidéo, le buffet chinois Sam Sam, où le client est roi, à volonté, maître chez soi. Libre de vous dire, ils sont sales, ils bouffent du chien. J'ai oublié ton nom. T'es difficile à différencier. Vous vous ressemblez toutes. Mais toi, t'es belle, t'es spéciale. T'as grandi parmi nous. On va faire une exception. On va faire un effort pour apprendre ton nom. Vous m'entendez? Je ne fredonne plus. Mon nom est Dédé Chen. Pas Fortin, pas Tremblay, ni Côté. Le père est mort. Je marche parmi les feuilles. Pour survivre, il te faut de l'amour, du soleil et de l'eau. Pour vivre, il te faut libérer de l'oxygène, respiration. Je vous parle d'où je viens, de Nanshan, de Jonquière, de notre planète. Je cherche la terre de mes ancêtres. Je marche devant l'écho de la mer que je ne connais pas. Je me crève les yeux. Dans le désert, la peur. Un nouvel astre m'éblouit, me met à genoux. J'arrive à ce qui commence.
Allô Dédé?
Est-ce que vous me voyez? Oui.
Oui, on te voit bien. Hello Dédé. Thank you so much for this piece this video that you've made especially for us, based on a poem you published in Estuaire. So you have a practice of poet, of writer, of filmmaker. Je me demande, c'était quoi tes sources d'inspiration pour ce poème et cette vidéo? So what were your inspiration sources for that video and that poem? And you can answer in the language you want and we can translate if you'd like.
Ok, merci beaucoup Néla pour la question et aussi pour l'invitation. I will try my best to start in English, but as my thoughts develop, I might switch. So This poem is called Le Tao, the Tao. It is inspired by Taoism and my yellow body and my definition, my relationship to home. So I tried to recall many homes that I had. For example, the first one in China, the second one in northern Quebec, and currently my home is Jojage, Montreal. And in the video, I tried to adapt this poem into the house, the object. So, as you might know, Montreal is living an unprecedented housing crisis, and unfortunately, I got evicted from my apartment in which I lived for 5 years. So for me, it was a very shocking news to learn that I had to find a new house, a new home. And I thought, okay, I would try to adapt the poem in my bath as a symbolic grieving ritual to my house. And where do I feel the most comfortable? Surprisingly, in my bathroom, with the beautiful sound, the echo that you can hear. And I realized that I never had a bath in my apartment for 5 years, and that having a clean and proper bath is actually a privilege. So I took the first and the last bath in my apartment, and I wanted to share this moment with you because I will leave this house in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the lodging crisis is so hard in Montreal right now, and it's beautiful to share this vulnerability you're going through right now with us. There's a plant in the bath.
Yes.
So
yes, I decided to use in the sound, the background, some water drops, and as long as the poem evolves, you can hear the sound of the waves. Because in French, the sea is mer, it means mother. So I wanted to add this metaphor. And as well, I put a plant, a monstera, because in the poem, if you remember, it was pretty quick, but I say that to live and not to survive, to live, you just need to breathe in, breathe out, like plant and photosynthesis. So this was my Taoist relationship to the 4 elements, I would say.
Thank you, Dédé. It's really interesting and very beautiful what you created from such a moment of struggle and frustration. And I think throughout this entire festival, it'd be something for us to all try to take in, just how different artists showcase their feelings, their emotions, whatever message that is through art, and how that comes in many different forms. My question for you is, as both an author and a filmmaker, how do you balance these 2 forms of storytelling? Do you find that one influences the other?
Good question. I would say that I don't choose the medium I will use. I reflect on the material I have first. So it could be a dream, a drawing, photography, written notes, some screenshots on my computer, and then the form comes from itself. So I will think, oh, this might be more adequate in a poem because I can use the words to illustrate the feelings. An example is tonight's video. And if I opt for cinema, then I will have to use visual references. So for example, I worked on my family archival, my adoptive family archival, because I felt the need to use this visual language to talk about my body. I used dance as a metaphor of metamorphosis. And I am really into not only body archival, but collective history archival and personal archival. So I would say that my practice revolves around autotheory, where I like to just analyze my daily life and in the lenses of critical theories such as critical race theory, gender.
Oh, that's awesome. It's interesting to see that there are some roots in maybe sociology
Right,
in your art.
totally.
That's all for me. Neela, do you have any questions to ask?
No, but I would like to share one element that I find really interesting. Recently, Dédé, with other people, you've edited the first literary anthology with Asian authors in French that was released in Quebec. So you really do have a multifaceted practice. And we're very happy to have you with us tonight. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup pour l'invitation.
Thank you, Dédé. Okay, so to introduce the next part of the evening, we welcome a Red Lotus Korean dance. They are presented by the Asian Heritage Month Society of Manitoba in Winnipeg. They've been bringing together performers, artists, and educators every May for over 20 years. The dance group is led by Eunju Jung and based in Winnipeg. Eunju Jung, originally from South Korea, immigrated to Canada in 2014. Eunju has been directing the group since 2018, overseeing dance instruction and performances for the members. Presently, the group's repertoire includes various performances such as Haegeum, Ogomu, puppet mass dance, Talmunoli, fan dance, and K-pop.
On accueille maintenant Red Lotus Korean Dance, un collectif de danse présenté par la Asian Heritage Month Society of Manitoba, localisé à Winnipeg. Alors, depuis plus de 20 ans, la Société du patrimoine asiatique du Manitoba réunit avec succès des artistes en danse, en performance et dans d'autres disciplines, ainsi que des auteuristes, des musiciens, musiciennes et des éducateuristes. La compagnie de danse Red Lotus Korean Dance a commencé à se produire en 2018 lors du festival Folklorama de Winnipeg. Ce soir, vous entendrez en première partie du Haegeum, qui est l'un des instruments traditionnels coréens, connu pour sa manière unique de produire du son à l'aide d'un archet placé entre les codes internes et externes et relié à une petite caisse de résonance. Cet instrument à cordes possède un large registre vocal adapté aux mélodies de la musique traditionnelle coréenne et de la musique moderne.
For the second part, Ogomu is a traditional Korean 5-drum dance where dancers are surrounded by 5 drums employing various drumming and dance techniques.
That was so beautiful. It's amazing how the movement is generated from the music playing. Like they follow each other.
Yeah, I agree. It's really a real treat to be able to see very different traditional performances all together.
Hello, Yunju.
Welcome.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Yunju from Red Lotus. Thank you so much for your performances. Neil, I just have a few questions. First of all, I'm very curious about Haegeum. What setting is Haegeum played in, and is it still a popular instrument amongst the younger generation?
Actually, the Haegeum is played in many different settings. In Korea, like a traditional Korean court music or folk music, and even some modern pieces. But it's known for its unique sounds that fits both old music and new music. So, while it's not as popular among young people as instrument like a guitar or piano, but there's a growing interest in traditional Korean music. So some young musicians are starting to play the Haegeum with included their music. So get the combine the music playing something.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious then, when you say it's becoming more popular in newer music, I mean, K-pop is global, right? Do you know any K-pop that have implemented Haegeum?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I play the K-pop music also. So because the Haegeum have a melody, so we can play any music, the melody, and with the background music, for example, drum or cello and piano with Haegeum. So normally I perform K-pop music, and this performance also that Arirang is a folk song, and plus the modern song. So it's just two songs combined there. So yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you. Do you know any like modern K-pop songs that have come out and just used Haegeum? Like any artists that maybe someone would know in the audience? Definitely not BTS, right?
Yes, and Blackpink.
Right. That's fair. Neela, did you have a question for Yunju?
Yes. And Yunju, in case you don't understand my accent, I can also write my question, so you will let me know. Regarding the movement, the dance, is it always in relation to the music instrument? Or are there also movement phrases that you dance without the instruments? I will write my question.
Can you explain one more? I don't understand.
Yes, I will write my question in the chat.
Okay. Oh, so you mean it's Ogomu dance or the other Korean dance?
Yes, the Ogomu, yeah.
Ogomu is actually not actually that is a playing instrument. So just the drum.
Okay.
So just only drum. With drum, we just a movement and then using 5 drum every. So we don't use any music with Ogomu. So only the drum. Yeah. we use the only two.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's quite impressive. I think you'd have to have a very strong sense of rhythm to really kind of like train your ears, right? Because there's no music to follow along. And I know for certain dancers, some dancers listen to the beat, some dancers listen to the music or even the lyrics. And this is kind of without a melody or lyrics. Do you think that it's kind of something easy to pick up for anyone, or would you have to have like a good sense of rhythm first?
Yes, that then rhythm is a Korean traditional rhythm, but there are many all kinds of rhythm in there. But actually, I run just only 2 years ago. Yeah, I started right away, and it's just a practice after practice, and I can perform. But true. It is easy to learn the rhythm, and anyone can reach the running. And then also we have other the performances. Samulori also there are 4 instruments. All instruments is drumming, but it's a little bit different shape. But there are no background music, but rhythm is similar to Ogomu. So if you learn the basic rhythm, and then you can keeping other playing music. So
Oh, that's so good. That's a wonderful explanation. And it's very impressive and also, I think, informative to know that for you, you started 2 years ago, right? And now you're feeling pretty fluent at it. It's definitely something I think anyone can try out, anyone who has a passion for music or for rhythm and for dancing. Even though it is traditional, I think today we got a good look at how it could be a fun thing to do for anyone at any age.
Yeah. Anyone can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then it's a great opportunity for me. And then it's so nervous, but it's so happy.
You're doing great. You're doing awesome. Are you wearing are you wearing a traditional?
Yes, I can show you. I can show you.
It's beautiful.
Wow. That's
Philippe,
awesome.
would you like maybe to remove me so we can see what you enjoy?
Oh, yeah. So, okay, I can show you. Yes.
I'm gonna do jazz hands.
Yeah.
Right here. Ta-da! That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Inju.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, Nayla, would you like to introduce our next artist?
Yes, thank you, Stéphanie. So, maintenant, on se dirige vers le street art avec l'artiste Busyrawk qui nous vient d'Edmonton. Busyrawk est mis en avant par le Philippine Arts Council à Edmonton. Cet organisme vise à promouvoir et à développer la culture et les arts philippins et à soutenir les artistes des communautés philippines. Over to you, Stephanie.
Busyrawk, a Kyopo, also known as a diasporic Korean from Incheon, South Korea, grew up in Southeast Asia and moved to Canada in 2010, sparking an ongoing exploration of his identity. He's a multidisciplinary artist drawing from a background in competitive breakdancing, DJing, and graffiti art. His journey as a graffiti artist was ignited by the captivating imagery of New York City's 1980s subway graffiti art, documented by Henry Chalfant and Martha Cooper in their seminal work, Subway Art. Established in 2016, the Philippine Arts Council's main objective is the promotion and development of Philippine art and culture, as well as the Filipino Art Network.
Alors, mêlant graffiti et DJing à une pratique de breakdance, Busyrawk souhaite que ses peintures murales suscitent le dialogue dans l'espoir d'apporter un changement social, une conversation à la fois. Actuellement, l'artiste interdisciplinaire oriente également ses travaux d'illustration numérique vers l'industrie du divertissement, aspirant à travailler en tant que concepteur de personnages. Alors ce soir, pour En Mouvement, Busyrawk nous parlera de son travail et présentera une murale réalisée à la Prince Charles Elementary School. Merci beaucoup, Busyrawk.
All disciplines of my art. It all comes down to the music, the funk. Dancing has a very cathartic moment when you're staying in the pocket. Dancers get into this almost like a Zen mode that you're in with no thought process, and it's really purely you and your groove and bounce and the music that's playing. My name is Busyrawk. I'm a South Korean mural artist, illustrator, DJ, b-boy, situated here in Treaty 6 territory. I was drawing and doodling in class. I remember vividly in 4th grade, doodling a lot in my class. I was initially painting graffiti first. I got exposed to the subway art of the 80s in New York, and that really inspired me to try and take my illustrations and put it on a medium that's on large scale. I learned a lot of my art from other cities, namely Montreal, New York, and Toronto. But in terms of bringing art ideas, different styles, often comes from places that are really far away from where we're staying. As I grew into junior high, that's when I got exposed to breakdancing. Eventually the passion grew, and that's when I fell in love with the music, and that's how I got introduced to DJing. When I tore my Achilles tendon, I made a big shift from dance as my main craft to illustrations. My vision to bring change in our society through my art was largely influenced by my hip-hop side of my journey. From learning b-boying and DJing and graffiti arts, these are cultural art forms that originated from marginalized communities, and the energy that really drives these art forms is the voice of the voiceless. It's definitely not an overnight process, but it starts with dialogue, and that's what I want my murals to be able to do. Ayo, peace. Tanse. Busyrawk Nitsi Kaso, South Korea Ochenia. I'm a muralist based in Treaty 6 territory here in Amiskwasi, Waskaigan. This is a mural done by me and Q-Rock from Nipissing's First Nation. Today, I want to tell you a little bit about our mural. This is Angela Gladue. She was also a student at Prince Charles Elementary, just like you. Today, she's a super talented dancer who travels the whole world to places like Pakistan, Sweden, Italy, and even New Zealand, performing her fancy show, jingle dress, hoop dance, and she's a B-girl too. She travels with the group The Hallucination, proudly representing her people, letting the world know that her people are still alive, proud, and strong. And it was here at Prince Charles' very own gymnasium, little Angela was first introduced to powwow dancing and jigging. And with the help of her teachers here at Prince Charles, Angela took a chance at dancing. Now she's an example of a strong, resilient Indigenous woman who believed in herself and worked hard to make her dreams in dancing become a reality. And just like her, so can you. We wanted to share her story through this mural so that just as Angela believed in herself, you can become a role model for other Indigenous and non-Indigenous children around the world. Next, we painted the 7 grandfather teachings. Love. Love yourself unconditionally so that you can love your neighbors as well. Honesty. Be honest with yourself. Walk with integrity. Courage. Stand up for yourself and what you believe in. Stand up for others when they need help. Humility. We are all equal to one another. We are never better or worse than anyone else. Wisdom. Listen and observe. Never stop learning. Respect. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Truth. Trust in the teachings our ancestors left behind for us. Believe in the gifts that the Creator gave each and every one of us. We painted the 7 sacred teachings so that we're all reminded of what our ancestors taught us. We hope these teachings will guide you on your way and walk with strength. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of our visual healing experience. This was Busyrawk and Q-Rock. Ready to rock.
Wow.
Wow. That's so inspiring.
It is.
Yeah.
It's inspiring and it's cool and it's trendy. And it's like, I mean, I think about my time in elementary school, and it was always uncool to be, nice and respectful. All of this stuff, like whenever the principal would talk about it, you kids would make fun of it. But watching someone so cool talk about this, talk about being proud, being who you are, and believing in yourself, I wish I had that in elementary school.
Same. Yeah. Hello, Busyrawk.
Hi. How's it going,
Hi.
everyone? Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here. I'm going off script tonight. I'm very curious about your dance practice. How did you start b-boying? Where and with whom? And
Yeah, breaking. I started in junior high. I was a very shy person. I wanted to gain the respect of my peers, and I wasn't really much of a speaker. So dance. I came across at that time. LimeWire was a thing. So I was exposed to footages of break dancers, b-boys and b-girls. And I started on my own and just kind of taught myself. And yeah, I've been doing it. I still do it right now, even after my Achilles injury. So yeah, that's how I started breakdancing.
okay.
Sorry about your injury, Busyrawk.
Oh, it's all good. It was a blessing in disguise. I was really upset at the beginning, but I realized that opened doors to expanding on my street art side. So yeah, it was a huge lesson for me.
Speaking of street art, that kind of ties into my question. So it looks like, I can really see how there's a theme, kind of like a purpose in your art, especially with that second video. And that really connects to what you said about how the process always starts off with dialogue. And so I guess more so with your murals, whether that's a mural and then also like a video, or just the mural itself, throughout that creation process from beginning to end, what would you say is your favorite part? And then what would be a part that you're still learning today?
Yeah, that's a great question because the part that I love most about street art actually happens outside of street art. So it's the process when I'm painting. So I'm on the streets and people will open dialogue. I don't know what it is about street art. It lets people's guards down and people want to chat with you. And I've had some of the best experiences talking to people, strangers in the community, just walking past. You can just start with, "Hey, I love your art," and then boom, right there, we'll talk about what the mural talks about. And generally, my art involves a lot of social messages. So it's a perfect segue for me to bring up difficult, uncomfortable topics. And it's a great way to bring the community together. I learn more about the people as well. Yeah, I mean, I'll go into it really shortly. I had one project where I was painting portraits of our unhoused communities that passed away. These community members were active in this. It's called the Bissell Center in our city, and every time somebody passed by, they would share a little story about the person that I'm painting, and it was just a beautiful and very emotional process. As I got to hear more about these people that I was painting. At first, I didn't know who they were, but it humanized these people, and I think that's exactly what we needed and that was the purpose of the project. So, yeah, it's the dialogues that happen during the process of the painting.
Right. It seems like.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Right, go ahead. Oh, it seems like the connection part is something that really stands out to you, that you very much value. And it's also interesting that part of, I guess, a big portion of your work is performance, because while you're literally painting or graffitiing, that's also you performing. And then you're also working in the public sphere. So it allows a lot of opportunity for connection.
Definitely.
Does DJing and breakdancing, do those practices influence your approach to visual arts, and how so?
I think in terms of when I paint photorealism, I wouldn't see as much connections, but definitely there's a certain culture behind it, especially in the learning process. So hip hop culture it comes from marginalized communities. So there is a certain culture that's like, say for example, everything is earned. You have to put in the work to earn what you want. So that kind of process, the learning process and the disciplines behind that influenced my street art side a lot. So same thing with DJing. It's a lot of consistency and discipline to pick up on these things, and also mentorship is another big thing. So hip hop culture has a big thing with mentorship, and that's how workshops do help, but to really learn the lifestyle behind it and the cultural sides of hip hop, you really need mentorship, and it's a community effort to make those things happen. So I would say those are the connections between my street art side and DJing, but definitely actually across all disciplines. So yeah, great question.
Are you also mentoring youth, or I'm wondering about the reaction in the school, for example, to your mural and to your work, to your presence?
I wouldn't say I have a mentee yet, but I always do want to encourage, actually young and old, to always pick up on any creative process. It doesn't have to be a professional thing, even if it's a hobby thing or a therapeutic thing. I think I want to encourage young and old. So I had these conversations at the elementary school. We had this assembly, and I got to speak with them. So definitely encouraging kids to take up on art, and especially coming from, let's say, immigrant families or Asian families. I think we can all relate that a lot of times our families don't support this. So I want to encourage a support system, because I had that with my hip hop side of things. I had mentors that supported and really guided and kind of built a resilience in me to go through the art journey. But definitely I want to encourage everyone, not just Asians, but everyone to pick up on an art form, whichever it is. And it might be daunting in the beginning, but it's definitely something that fulfills your soul. And I believe it's a human thing. It's absolutely a human thing. So I wish I had a mentee, but I'm in the process of finding. I think these kinds of things have to happen naturally, and it also demands it demands effort from both sides, the mentor and the mentee. And quite honestly, I don't see as much hunger from the mentee side of things. And I would like to see more of that. People that really want something badly, that they will take extra efforts to want that. And I think the culture of convenience is affecting this. People are looking for convenience rather than going through the route of process that really builds a person. So, wow, that was a long answer to your question. I hope it answers it. But yes,
It does. It's
yeah.
really interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really good to hear and for you to share from like the mentor side. You know, I think a lot of mentees, they might be stopped by like that fear of rejection.
Yeah.
So for all the mentees out there who are interested in DJing, breakdancing, or graffiti art, you heard it here first. Busyrawk is actively looking to be a mentor. If you see him on the streets, breakdancing or graffitiing, just approach him and have a conversation. He's open.
Yes. Beautifully said.
Thank you. So now, who do we have? Oh, OK. Alors, la soirée se poursuit avec Anto Chen, qui nous vient de Toronto, de Caronto. Anto est présenté par InterGenerational Becoming Ancestors, un collectif d'artistes immigrants et immigrantes de deuxième génération qui mène une réflexion sur le traumatisme et la guérison à travers la musique, le rap, la poésie, la comédie, le récit et plus encore. L'artiste queer sino-canadien œuvre en performance. Anto est aussi écrivain, animateur, mentor d'artistes. Il a présenté son spectacle solo Love So Far au Fringe de Montréal en 2019. Son recueil de poésie Love So Far Romantic Reflections a été publié en 2020. Anto sortira son album complet InterGenerational en mai 2024. En 2022, Anto a fondé le projet InterGenerational Trauma and Healing, créant une communauté qui favorise un environnement sécuritaire pour les artistes asiatiques afin que ces dernières puissent évoluer dans leur art sans crainte ni limite en s'écartant de l'archétype de la minorité modèle.
Next, we have Toronto's InterGenerational Becoming Ancestors, presenting Anto Chen. InterGenerational is a collective dream of ancestries and realities. It's a recognition of trauma and an exploration of healing. Anto is currently studying expressive art therapy at the Create Institute at the intersection of mental health and the arts. His humorous and intimate performances nurture dialogue about intergenerational trauma as he shares his complicated family history and takes responsibility in breaking generational curses. He also facilitates groups 2SL LGBTQ+ community, including Getting By Plus and Queerscapes, and mentors for the NIA Center for the Arts, supporting Black artists with creativity, writing, poetry, and grant writing. Anto's life work centers expansion, intersectionality, and self-love through the page, stage, and community. He builds meaningful projects aiming to create and support art that speaks to the journey of soul healing, self-discovery, and healing intergenerational trauma.
On va maintenant écouter Anto nous parler de son art, de sa pratique et de son prochain projet.
First time I ever told my mom that I loved her. My therapist actually was like, yeah, of course, you should totally do that. Definitely a white therapist. And yeah, totally, go for it. Go for it. Just say you love your mom. Why wouldn't you? You love her, right? I was like, yeah, I love my mom. Just tell her. So I went with special moments. I'm like, Mom, I love you. Just a little bit of silence. I was like, you know what? I'll translate it. That'll do really well. Ngongoy lei. Mama. She had the sweetest reaction. She goes, okay, do you want me to cut you some fruit? And then she ran downstairs and just starts chopping. You just hear in the back how chop, 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 chop. And you knew what kind of like loving moment it was because she cut me like snow pears, like the Asian pears as they call it, but it was so sweet, such a special moment. But I just, to be completely honest, I just wanted her to say it back. Right? I love my intensities. But like, I'll just say it, but after a while, I just kept saying it to her, and I realized at that moment, I just needed to wear her down. Because that's what love is, right? So I kept telling her randomly. She's like washing dishes, like, Pop, I'm like, I love you, Mom. She's like, oh. Yeah, okay, all right. After a while, though, in messages, she'd be like, LU, comma, Mom. Send me like the heart emojis, and the ones with like the GIFs, like those, like the sweet heart ones. Some of you are like, it's called GIF. Okay. And it was so caring, but I still wanted her to say it back, right? And so one time, I was actually on a date. It happened. Yeah, once. Okay, cool. And I knew it was special because I cleaned my apartment. When you're on your hands and knees and you're scrubbing, you're like, man, I really like it. Fuck, this is like strange. Never clean this place up. Doing laundry? What's happening right now? And so we're on the couch and we're, tongue licking. What do you call it? I don't even know. What do kids call it these days? Mouth wrestling, whatever. And it was really sweet, caring. 7 p.m. Not the air duct assholes. Okay, let's. I'll be right back. Okay, cool. So I go and I take this call. Like, hello? Oh, it's my mom. Pure worry immediately. I don't know if you've ever gotten these calls, but she just goes into, oh, you're coming home next week? Yeah, make sure that you actually get your car maintenance. Don't you need to make sure your windshield wipers are great? Oh, get your tires changed. I'm like, when did you become a mechanic? What's happening right now? Like, what is all of this going on? Safety first, right? And she's just going on, and I was like, Mom, okay, I'm on a date. She's like, grandkids? I was like, chill. It's our second date. I cleaned my apartment, though, so this is pretty special. She's like, oh, that's so great. And then I'm like, just about to be like, okay, Mom, I got to go. And then all I hear is her go, okay, I love. Oh my God, what just happened? And I had like the walk of shame all the way back to my date, right? And I'm sitting beside her and she's like, are you okay? And I had this on my face. I was just like, yeah, everything's good. She's like, no, what happened? Is something? I was like, oh, my mom was telling me she loves me for the first time, and I hung up on her. She's like, what? Why? Why did you do that? I was like, I didn't do it on purpose. Like, what? She's like, okay, well, why don't you just call her back? I was like, yeah, call her back. I didn't even think of that. Like, I literally didn't think of it. So I go back and I call my mom, and listen to the level of worry on this one. She goes, make sure you shuffle the driveway in the front, because if someone's walking by and they fall, then they're gonna sue you, and then you're gonna end up losing the home, and you're gonna have to move back home. And she prefaced it with, you could always move back home if you want. And I was like, but like, Mom, you were gonna say something, what were you gonna say? And she's like, oh, okay, well, and I was like, you know what, I'll just make it easy on her. I'll say it first. So I said, okay, I love you, Mom. Round two, sad. I go back and I sit back down. I didn't stay on that long. No, don't make it so desperate. Okay. Me and Colin, we got something here. This is great. And so my date's there, and she's like, oh, what happened? Yeah, I just like said I love you to her, and she didn't say it back. And she's like, oh, is there anything that I can do? I'm like, well, are you going to tell me you love me tonight? She's like, well, no, we've only like been seeing each other for a couple months. I'm like, it's Toronto, come on. Like, what? It's like, are you serious? Like, no. I was like, I think you just got to go home. Like, I think you got to go home. And then so I'm like, I'm gonna pack you a doggy bag to go, you know? So I went and I packed all the food and I like go to give it to her and I see her puppy eyes. And I could tell that she was disappointed, that she actually didn't want the doggy bag, she wanted doggy style. Guys, I love this audience. I just gotta love this audience. Don't worry, we ended up still dating after, okay, guys? It was a happy ending for a while. Okay, so one day she ended up having a health scare. It was super intense, and I went to visit her in the hospital. And right when I got in there, she got up. She came to me and she says, "I love you, Ming. I love you, Ming." And I responded with, okay. Did you want this fruit cup? 3:33 in the morning. Another restless night, mindless scrolling through my head, this marching voice. Stop Asian hate! Stop Asian hate! Stop Asian hate! But I can't even stop hating myself. Of the parts of me I despise, the surface is the last to get to. Confused, conflicted, distorted reality, uncertain identity. Chinese school, soccer team, teacher's pet, jumping from one group to another, never acknowledging myself. This intergenerational trauma, I feel it in my bones. The customs I never grew accustomed to, keeping me childish. I'm grateful for this cognizance, but what the fuck do I do with awareness? Part of my crisis. I want to do so much for the next generation of kids, but they're born into a country of complacency, the avatar of lineage. They want to spread their wings before they're clipped, claimed for corporates, falling into line, marching madness, mechanical, malleable, manageable, monolith, model minority. Am I talking about it enough? Caring enough? Sharing enough? Am I posting enough? Am I angry enough? Am I acknowledging the victims enough? How am I so selfish to make this about me again? Did I do something to make this happen? Could I have prevented this somehow? Brushing aside the aggressions, macro, micro, taking my anger out on my own people, making jokes about bad driving, small dicks, smaller eyes, normalize, scrutinize, and trivialize, racialize, and victimize. This hatred for myself, these jagged judgments, it's one piece of the puzzle of Asian identity. The mosaic of human condition dropped in the pool of persistence. I keep swimming into love. My inner child, the Ninja Turtle floaties, the pool noodle fights, the young boy who needed nurturing, the dawn of days mending yesteryear's memories, magical imperfections embraced. It's 3:34 in the morning, releasing the protest pen, the painted signs, invigorated by purpose. Together, we stop Asian hate. Stop Asian hate. Stop Asian hate. Stop Asian hate. Maybe this is how I contribute. This step is the acknowledgement of the inner child, of the reticent, drifting in desperation, angry we can't do more, but we are still here. We're still here. We're still here. And that's enough.
Thank you so much, Anto. We have a few questions for you for that hilarious. Yeah.
I laugh every time I watch this.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
ask? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, Anto, can you share what inspired you to combine spoken word with performance art, and how has your style evolved over time?
Yeah. So it was kind of incredible that like it was more of it just so happened. So my favorite word in the whole world is serendipity, and which is the aptitude for making desirable discoveries by accident. So the aptitude for making desirable discoveries by accident. So you're working on yourself enough so that when you get these gifts, you're able to like grab onto them, right? And a big part of my performance art or my spoken word career started because my gongong, my grandfather, when he passed away, nobody would speak at his funeral. And my mom ended up asking me if I would speak at her funeral, at his funeral. And yeah, it was just, she helped me translate it. And then I was able to get in front of my entire family and be able to share stories about him. And people were laughing and moved by it. And it just made me realize, wow, like this is something that excited me, but also made me be able to give a voice to my family and other Chinese people who might not be able to have that part where they can express their emotions. And as I was finishing my speech, I was like, wow, like getting off the stage, and I just felt so good. And then my mom stands up and she's like, Mom, which means like, don't forget to say it in Cantonese too. But I was like, oh yeah, and I like completely forgot that I was supposed to translate it. And then she said, or your gongong's not gonna know what you're saying. And it's like, that's just such like a beautiful way of looking at like the afterlife of sorts, right? And then, but my aunt had the best way to translate it. She basically said to me, wow, it's great what you said about my father, your gongong, and it's wonderful you tried to speak in Cantonese too. And I was like, I think that's a compliment, thank you, you know. And then the evolution ended up happening 2 weeks later. I did my first comedy set, my first stand-up comedy set. And then I did that for multiple years. And then I realized stand-up comedy could only hold so much of my emotions and my passions and my feelings. And then, so that's why I started doing spoken word poetry and being able to share that. It's so much more moving, I think, to be able to have multiple avenues in which I could express myself. And then I, of course, led into storytelling, which now, if you're watching like a full show of mine, which is like the hour show, I incorporate poetry, storytelling, and stand-up comedy. So I kind of jump between each one, and you never really know which one I'm going to go to. And it just depends on the story or like my emotions. So that's kind of how it evolved throughout time. And now just a multiplicity of spoken word experiences. And that's kind of how I ended up the performance art you got to see.
Amazing.
That's awesome. I actually think maybe I think you might have the same answer for my question, but just I guess in response to what you said, I mean, that's such a beautiful story. It really hits all of the, I guess, key points of what you stand for as an artist. You know, that story is intergenerational. Like this is literally at your gongong's funeral. And it was also, I guess, serendipity. I've heard that word. I just remember something. But yeah, it's quite beautiful. I actually think the fact that you're combining humor and also like very serious topics, it goes from it's not a very easy thing to do, I think, to be able to go from something laughable, not necessarily lighthearted even, but different people cope in different ways, right? I think especially in Asian culture where some people do cope with humor, and then to go from there and transition to a very serious attitude towards it and have people's hearts just kind of drop, but also stay with you. It reminds me of like John Mulaney's like most recent stand-up comedy thing on Netflix. It was a similar, I think, journey. I wanted to ask you about how you came about creating InterGenerational. As the founding artist behind it, can you take us back to the key moment or moments that catalyze your drive to do that, if it's different from the one you said?
Thank you so much. I will definitely jump into that in a moment. I'd love to comment on what you said about
the two parts of it, like the emotional part of it and the comedy part. There's a reason actually why that came about, is because both of those like experiences or emotions are actually very much either put aside or even punished in my family for having a very humorous vibe. They don't like when I'm being silly and like joking around and like making jokes about things. And then they also don't really like when I get too serious or emotional. And so these are very taboo things. It may not seem as taboo as, you know, if people are going extremely into like, you know, some performance art is like very overwhelmingly taboo in that way of certain topics and whatnot. But for myself, these were topics that in my family, I was punished for experiencing these things. So to be able to play inside of both of those now, it's been such a it's very freeing and opening up myself and opening up my heart to be able to welcome more people into my relationships. And I also notice the best relationships I have and the people that I connect with and deepen my that actually like soul bond, I would say, is the people that I can be extremely serious with and like talk about like the most painful, damaging things, and literally 1 second later we're making jokes about it. And that's like the people that I bond with and laugh with and also feel with the most. So that's the types of artists that I would love to continue connecting with. And that's actually where leading into the intergenerational founding is that I want to be able to create a space where I can meet and connect with other artists who are open to those experiences, whether it's humor, whether it's deepening their relationships with their intergenerational traumas. But also, I think it's about what's taboo to you and to challenge yourself as an artist to be able to not only confront them, but also hold yourself with love and accountability inside of being able to create inside of those. So for me, that's been a big part of what intergenerational is all about. There's so much support for level 1 artists, right? So you've never done this before, or you haven't done it in many years. Come and join us for this workshop and everybody's welcome. But there's not really much support for level 2 artists, level 3 artists, where you're getting to a point where you're needing to be able to start touring. You're needing enough supplies to be able to kind of hit that next level of like, are you going to start headlining events, that type of stuff. So I had to like get grants myself and my team, of course, to be able to create an avenue for myself. That's why I created Intergenerational in the beginning, was because people were not asking me to headline their events because they didn't know what I was doing. Was I doing comedy? Was I doing poetry? Was I doing storytelling? I would be able to feature on each one of those individually on shows. But the idea of giving me the whole hour on my own, that's what was the mark of like a professional stand-up comedian, is to be able to do your hour. And there wasn't anyone who was giving that to me. So that's why I created Intergenerational. So it was very self-serving and it was community-based, right? And that's a big thing that I always share with my mentees or people that I'm sharing with, is a lot of times we're afraid to admit, oh, this is for me too. But at the same time, like, why do we always have to be giving everything to everyone else? The more strengthened that I am in these situations, the more that I could support others in being able to understand themselves more, be able to heal inside of themselves a lot more as well. So Intergenerational is all about being able to create spaces where we're able to take that next step into becoming professional artists and really believing that we don't have to just keep chasing all the time, which is what I feel like you get to when you're in that middle career level. And then you were able to feel sustained enough financially and emotionally and artistically to be able to share that with our families and as well as like the next generation, right? What Brandon was talking about in terms of mentoring and stuff, I wouldn't be at the point where I could feel comfortable mentoring at all if I hadn't worked so hard on myself to be able to be at a point where I could be like, this is what I have to offer and be able to create in this. So Intergenerational has really built that for me. The first year I was able to headline, then I had 2 opening artists, and then those 2 opening artists became the headliners, you know? So it's passing on in that way where they were also able to explore and understand themselves through the stage.
You know, it's very interesting. I'd like to point out a parallel that I see behind you talking about what you do for artists, like your goals and your values, and then connecting that with intergenerational trauma. Like you mentioned, for you, you want to take responsibility in breaking that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, getting out there and practicing and promoting 2 emotions that were punished growing up, that's freeing for you, that's breaking the curse. But also you doing this for a network of artists is also breaking that cycle, and you're it's intergenerational as well because you're passing a forward, right? Everything that you've learned with grant writing, your discoveries, like all of that knowledge, you're passing it forward and you're breaking that curse.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. And it's because I didn't have that when I was coming up, right? I maybe had one or two, and it was only in moments that I was able to have that mentorship and to be able to see like how other organizations like NIA Center, who I work with, they have like 5 sessions per connection with the mentees, right? So they have different systems and ways in which we can start being able to align and connect a little bit deeper. And that's really what it's about, right? And that's why my organization is called InterGenerational. It's about self-reflection. It's about self first. And then you're able to finally understand your intergenerational parts of your life, right? A lot of times we get so overwhelmed with both sides of like, what am I doing in the future? What has come from the past and the traumas that are there? It's like, understanding your sense of self helps you feel a lot more balanced in that way. I'm a Libra, so like I need that balance, right? So it's like the past, the future, I need to be able to feel like I'm not overwhelmed on either side. So that's a big part of what intergenerational is all about.
I'll let Nayla chime in.
Thank you so much, Anto. It's really amazing to listen to you and see your performance. Yeah,
I appreciate that. And I'm just so grateful to be here. And you guys have been doing such an awesome job. And just a special shout out to like all the people who put this together. So thank you all so much. And I hope that we could one day travel the country and be live with every single one of you guys in all these cities. So sending you guys so much love.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And also see like much more work from all of you.
Yeah, it would be. Okay. Have a good night, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Anto.
Bye.
So I believe we're reaching our last artist of the evening, Stephanie.
Yeah. So to conclude this evening, we are presenting the artist Lavounie Doan. Lavounie is showcased by Alberta Media Arts Alliance Society in Calgary. The AMAS serves media artists and organizations through advocacy, development opportunities, and connecting media artists and media art organizations across Alberta. Lavounie Doan was born in Saigon, Vietnam. She is a media artist specializing in filmmaking / cinematography, sound design, photography, animation, and illustration. Living in Calgary, Alberta, Lavounie received her Bachelor of Fine Arts in Time-Based Media Arts and a Board of Governors Graduating Student Award from the Alberta University of the Arts in 2023. Her research focuses on the concept of dreams and fragmented memories.
Pour un mouvement, Lavounie Doan nous présente sa vidéo Allo Baba. L'artiste née au Vietnam et vivant à Calgary dans le territoire du traité 7 se spécialise en cinéma, en conception sonore, photo, animation et illustration. Rappelons que Lavounie est présentée par Alberta Media Arts Alliance Society à Calgary. Cet organisme fournit des services aux artistes médiatiques et aux organisations, par exemple à travers des opportunités de développement professionnel et la mise en relation des artistes et des organismes à travers la province.
Hello, papa. Hello. con tính gọi hỏi ba cách làm đồ ăn. Ý là con đang thèm cái món mà thịt dùng thịt mà cái gì đó sốt cà chua mà hồi đó ba hay làm cho con đó.
Cái đó dễ mà, có gì đâu.
Thì cái đó dễ nhưng mà con đâu có giỏi đâu. Mà bây giờ con đang ở chung nhà với Nguyên nè thì nó ăn chay thì con muốn mời nó ăn chung. Bây giờ ba chỉ cho Biên cách làm sao mà làm nó chay đây chứ.
Nhưng mà con làm sao cho nó khéo cho nó bị bở ra, bị bã ra. Thì là nó sẽ ngon thôi.
Ok luôn. Rồi.
Thì bây giờ con chuẩn bị đi. Là món chay thì cho ngon thì con phải có một số các cái nguyên liệu của nó. Làm sao phải sao đủ dinh dưỡng. Có trứng thì sẽ làm trứng vịt, trứng gà cũng được.
Làm trứng gà. Rồi có lấy bắp không? Con lấy con bỏ bắp vô cho nó đẹp, nó có màu vàng, nó ngon.
Bỏ bắp vô thì nó sẽ làm cho ngọt nữa.
Ủa ba đang làm gì vậy?
Ba mới về đến nhà. Ba vừa mới uống cà phê cùng các chú về.
Cà phê đen á hả?
Không, ba uống cà phê sữa chứ ba có uống được cà phê đen đâu.
Cà phê sữa có trà đá, cà phê phin đồ gì đúng không?
Đúng rồi. Tàu hũ chiên sốt cà chua thì còn đương nhiên là con phải có nguyên liệu là cà chua rồi.
Cà chua đây.
Đúng không? Cái cà chua một cái trái mà nó tròn vo mà nó mọc thù lù giống con đậu thì đó bạn con chơi là cái đó đó.
Nó mọc sao lại mọc thù lù giống con lúc nhỏ? Để đâu?
Nhỏ nó tròn thì thương mà nó bóng binh thì nó mới đẹp chứ.
Xào lao.
Với lại ngồi hành lá vào thì nó sẽ thơm hơn. Đậu hũ.
Ok, rồi hiểu luôn.
Thì bây giờ con phải làm nhân. Bây giờ cà rốt á, con phải gọt cái vỏ nó đi.
Gọt cái vỏ từ từ để con lấy cái dao rồi.
Rồi sau đó bắt đầu con mới thái sợi cho nó.
Rồi xong rồi giờ con cắt cà rốt xong rồi nè.
Rồi xong bắt đầu đến phần mộc nhĩ nha. Rồi sau đó con bỏ mộc nhĩ vào trong một cái tô. Con chế nước sôi vào đó.
Nước sôi vào.
Thì mộc nhĩ nó sẽ nở ra. Mà mấy bữa nay bên chỗ con sao rồi? Tết tăng chưa?
Cũng ok lắm ba. Nói chung là lạnh.
Trắng xóa đúng không?
Trắng xóa quá tuyệt vời luôn.
Nhìn đâu cũng thấy trắng hết trơn, nguyên một màu trắng hết. Đẹp.
Trắng bóc bong bong luôn.
Nhìn nó vừa lạnh mà vừa buồn.
Đau khổ như trái tim của Bin Bin.
Ở Việt Nam thì gần như là coi như gọi là không có mùa đông.
Việt Nam mình có hai mùa khô với mùa mưa.
Không phải đâu, chỉ có miền Nam mình thôi. Năm nay ở Sapa vẫn có tuyết.
Con chưa lên Sapa nha.
Thì khi nào tốt nghiệp xong rồi về mùa đông về bắt dắt lên Sapa chơi thì coi là cái lạnh ở trên Sapa và so với lạnh ở Calgary chỗ nào lạnh hơn.
Sao mà đổ được, trời ơi, Calgary tày âm 40 không mà.
Nhưng mà ở Việt Nam bị gió mùa.
Rồi ok, mốt giờ hai cha con mình chơi thách thức nè, coi bên nào lạnh hơn nè. Coi.
Ok. Bây giờ xong đến nấm đông cô.
Nấm đông cô đá đông cô. Ôi cái nấm này nhìn nó đẹp ghê luôn á, nhìn nó mềm á. Rồi bây giờ Biên có hạt lựu đúng không? Trời, con cũng thấy con giỏi quá chứ. Chỉ có tìm tòi làm đầu bếp tương lai lắm, ghê lắm.
Thì cố gắng đi, làm nghề nào cũng được mà. Cái trái bắp thì bây giờ con lột bỏ những cái vỏ với những cái râu ria của nó đi.
Rồi xong giờ nấu nước sôi lên đúng không?
Nấu nước sôi lên, luộc trái bắp lên.
Rồi nó bốc khói thì ghê quá.
Khói hơi nước chứ có gì đâu.
Nóng lắm.
Nóng thì con đừng có đụng tay vào đó. Đụng tay vào đó phỏng phải sao?
Thích.
Để nó đi. Dạo này học hành sao rồi?
Năm nay con lười. Có nhiều bài nghiên cứu mà con lại không có thích đọc sách. Nên là con rất lười.
Không được. Thì hiện tại bây giờ còn có mấy tháng còn một học kỳ cuối cùng à. Cái tuổi sinh viên là tuổi đẹp nhất rồi.
Học lấy. Trong phim rồi.
Cố gắng thôi.
Oh no.
Rồi cố gắng lên nha. Cố gắng lên, phải cố gắng nha. Rồi bây giờ đến phần hành tím nè.
Hành tím.
Rồi con bỏ một chút xíu ngò rí thôi.
Trời ơi nó óng ánh quá.
Lấy một mình cái lòng đỏ thôi.
Một mình cái lòng đỏ thôi. Con trộn lên ha. Trộn lên hết.
Rồi trộn lên.
Đều tay, trộn đều tay, trộn đều tay. Rồi.
Bây giờ đến phần đậu hũ của con à. Nhồi vào trong đó.
Này để con coi coi đó. Nhồi vô. Nhét vô. Nhìn nó đẹp quá à. Này con lớn con càng thấy con giống mẹ nha. Ở cái chỗ là con thích hoa dã man luôn á.
Dễ thương mà.
Dễ thương, con cũng có trồng hoa trong nhà, có trồng cây.
Cái đó nó cũng làm cho con được thoải mái mà. Nó gọi là relax và xả stress được mà tốt mà. Mà đúng ra là phải nấu cơm từ trước.
Trong khi dạo này Biên Biên cũng hay thích chơi mấy cái băng cũ lắm á bà.
Băng cassette đúng rồi. Còn có cái ketchup á.
Ketchup á, đúng rồi ketchup á.
Buổi sáng pha một ly cà phê, bắt đầu ngồi lim dim nghe ấy nhỉ. Nó cũng rất là vui á, ba cũng thích ngồi nghe cái đó lắm.
Thôi cho mốt đi hai cha con mình sáng sớm dậy cái ngồi uống cà phê nghe mấy.
Thì cô có rảnh không mà cô đâu uống cà phê với ba.
Úi dồi ôi, lúc nào mà chỉ có thời gian rảnh cho ba.
Rồi xong đấy để 1-2 cọng ngò rí với lại cái hành lá đó.
Hành lá. Trời ơi xuất sắc quá. Quá ngon luôn. Trời ơi.
Ok, rồi bây giờ ba chạy ra chợ mua ít xíu đồ để về nấu cơm trưa nha.
Dạ rồi, thương ba ba. Bye
bye con gái. Bye bye con. Thôi nha.
Xin chào. 1, 2, 3. Smile.
Nó trồng cây là phải trồng viên xuống đây cho mới.
Wow, that was, I would say, a real treat to watch. Very refreshing and just overall so cute. If you could please have Lavounie here.
Hi, thank you so much.
Hi. Yeah, it's a really like singular universe and very whimsical and poetic and yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Really grateful for that.
I really saw, because earlier when we were introducing you, I think part of your description was, I think, fragmented dreams or memories. And I really saw that. I think the first time I watched it, I felt like it was like clear but not clear. Like watching it felt like I was following along, but then there was also that music in the background, and I think I called it like curiously eerie at first, but now it makes so much more sense. It's it's kind of like a memory, like deja vu of a dream.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I was just like, so I would say that I have this strong desire to just create a sense of belonging that kind of transcends the cultural boundaries. So yeah, I love dreams. I love anything related to dreams. And I always try to create this kind of floating realm where people can just be in there and immerse themselves. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So for my first question, I want to say that, first of all, this is a wonderful short film that's also complex. I'd say it's balancing layers of nostalgia and also sort of a note of coming of age. But it also has an adorable personal touch in which your personality really shines through. Can you share the inspiration behind this unique short film and sort of how it came to be?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for your question. So first of all, I just really want to say that I really appreciate for the chance to be here today to enjoy all the amazing artwork from everyone and just share this moment together. So I still remember that day. It was somewhere in the middle of November when it was really cold and I was yearning for the warmth of our kitchen back home, where the sense of my dad's cooking is just filled the air. So my dad loves to cook. He's been teaching me to cook since I was little. He's the one who showed me the art of cooking. And he taught me one very important thing, which is you have to pay attention to every detail because every detail is a touch of love. We have so many memories, good memories cooking together. But you know, as time goes on, memories blur. But there are some significant memories that you just want to hold it dear to your heart and just cherish it and keep it forever. And for me, it's the sounds of his voice, the way that he laughs at me whenever I messed up in the kitchen. And I just wish to just capture all of those memories, all of the moments, and just bring it with me wherever I go because I'm so far from home now. I love all of his cooking, but this dish, the significant one, it's so special. It's almost just takes me home right away. The stuffed tofu with the tomato sauce, I would say paired with some steaming hot rice. It's just pure comfort. Yeah, and so that was the base idea. So I would like to share a bit more about the making process of the film. So I have to say that I had a really hard time filming all of this by myself and being an actress as well because you know I just want to be devoted to the film. The most difficult part I would say was the short daytime during winter. So I had to wait for the sunlight to be out, and it was there for like 4 hours max, and cloudy, and then nighttime. It took me 3 days to actually just film the process of the cooking process itself until I decided to just fake the lighting, the sunlight, by using 2 soft boxes and a mini sunset light. So one fun fact is that all of the cooking scenes that you saw toward the end of the films are just were just filmed at midnight, and I'm so grateful for those 2 soft boxes because they really saved me a tons of time. Yeah, and the part that I enjoyed the most was the old music tapes summer scene when I was just acting like it was summer when it was actually minus 30 degrees Celsius outside. I was just lying next to the open window and was just having my moment, acting like it was so warm, sunny, and lovely, but it was actually winter. And it's really funny if you notice there was a fan in those scenes, and the fan was actually a heater. Yeah. So I also love the sounds production process as well because all of the sounds and melodies are original. I remember I was just singing all night long with my guitar to compose the signature melody for the film. But lucky me, I didn't get reported by my neighbor. Yeah. And I think
So you
that
composed the
concludes.
music?
Yeah.
You composed the music as well?
Yeah, I compose my music as well. Yeah, because I think it's really hard to find a piece of music that actually resonate with you on a deeper level, especially when it's come to your own filmmaking. I want to just give it all. I want it to be original. Just give it all to it. Yeah.
On that note of originality, so it like that's obviously your dad speaking. I'm curious, did you tell him that you were going to film this before, or was it just like, hey dad, I want to make this dish?
Oh, because my dad cannot really act. So I was just like, because I call my dad all the time, like every single day, every other day. And if I have any problem, I'm just going to pick up the phone and just ask him, what should I do now? So I was just like, today I want to make something. Because previously I make a lot of artwork for my mom. So I make a lot of installation pieces, interactive pieces for my mom. But for my dad, I was like, this is the time. I need to use this moment to just create something for him so he can keep it forever. Yeah.
So you told him beforehand that you were filming this? Or
No. I was just, he cannot act. So I just like pick it up the phone and just like, Dad, can you teach me this? I really want to make this one.
That's so adorable because then he was also like telling you to like try your best in school and stuff too.
Yeah. I know.
You told him after that you made this into a
Yeah, after I done the film. I just like, Dad, you know what? And then I sent the link to him, and he just like, Asian parents just like, I spread it out to all my relatives so you can see my daughter. Yeah.
That's so cute. What was his reaction? Like
so proud. So proud. He was, because my dad usually kind of like hide his emotions. But then whenever it comes to come to this, he's just like quiet. And it was like, you don't know that I like it a lot, but I really like it in a way. And then he probably just watch it all over again and then just cried somewhere in the corner, which, yeah.
That's so cute. Oh, I'm gonna call my dad.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, reminds me a lot. I think, yeah, dads who cook have such a soft heart.
That's true. That's really true. Solid.
So another question that I have for you is sort of, I guess, the overall theme or the message you want to send behind the short film. Is it so that people can call their parents, or do you have another theme?
Oh, yes. Okay, so again, so I have a strong desire to create a sense of belonging, right? That transcends cultural boundaries. So my practice is all about generating an experience of sensing nostalgia in a floating realm where the fragmented memories of the past serve as the foundation for the wonders and limitless possibilities. So you can see that I use a lot of mundane elements in my work, include like everyday moments and senses such as signs, sounds, smells, and taste, because I believe that these elements carry thousands of memories that define nostalgia. I have to say that it's really difficult to fully translate the meaning of nostalgia because I would say it's often characterized by a sentimental longing for the past, a mix of both positive and negative emotions. However, people often associate it more with the sense of loss rather than gain. And as a person who has lived far from home for too long, I have, of course, been through those moments of deep sadness. However, this feeling is more than just homesickness. To me, it doesn't have to be about grief. More than that is an attempt to regain something vital. So I would say that Alibaba is a short film that kind of celebrates cultures through the evocations of the rural mundane, where fragmented time, the past and present, and then spaces, Calgary and Saigon, transcend. And these qualities evoke like relatable memories from the unconscious. And it's open space for the audience to just explore their own feeling of nostalgia. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, 100%. Neela, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I'm wondering what you are working on now, Lavounie. I know you have school and everything, but I'm sure
I've already done school. I'm working full time right now, but I mean, I really want to get back doing more film because after you graduate, you realize that life is no longer just like paying classes, and then I have some idea bubbling in my head, but these days I tend to want to create more kind of like film, but in Instagram, like real Instagram film. But we'll see how it will go. Like I want to create something like maybe make my own music and then probably do something with it. Yeah, it's difficult to say, but I'll think about that more. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's very, very unique. Something like a kind of like a goal of yours is to put a positive light on nostalgia. Like I think you should really expand on that. We definitely, as the world, we need more films like yours.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yes, this whole evening was a treat to borrow your expression, Stephanie. It's really very nice. It's an evening that gives energy and also hope in the times we are living now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lavounie.
Anto is
Thank you so
proposing
much.
let's all figure out how to do a residency together. So,
Definitely.
All right. Well, that is unfortunately the end of this live show. Bravo to another successful year of On the Move. We'll see you in 2025. And thank you to our audience for coming. And special thanks to all of the talented artists for an incredible evening.
Mhm. Merci beaucoup aux artistes et au public d'être là. Merci au réseau artistique CanAsie, au Asian Heritage Month Society of Manitoba à Winnipeg, au Philippine Arts Council à Edmonton, au Pacific Canada Heritage Center à Vancouver, à InterGenerational Becoming Ancestors à Toronto, à Alberta Media Arts Alliance Society à Calgary et au Festival Accès Asie à Montréal. Merci à toutes les personnes qui ont fait en sorte que cette soirée très spéciale ait lieu. Merci à Stéphanie, toutes les équipes impliquées. Merci à Philly qui a accepté de s'occuper de la technique ce soir, à Sarah Young, à Karine et à toute l'équipe du Festival Accès Asie. Bonne soirée et bonne fin de festival et bonne fin du mois du patrimoine asiatique.